So Prabhupada was completely unfazed in Mayapur. There was no running water, there was no electricity or anything. He had a jute stick toilet, a hole in the ground with some jute sticks around it. But still he followed exactly the same schedule. He couldn't use his dictaphone machine because there's no electricity. So he had his typewriter under his mosquito net on his bed, and he would type out with his two fingers. The purpose was unfazed. He got up at the same time, he went out for a morning walk, come back and greet the deities. Even there's no facility, it didn't faze him. He was just, his old schedule he kept maintained perfectly.
At the Ratha Yatra in Golden Gate Park. So I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So Srila Prabhupada's there, and an Indian devotee, different devotees were giving him garlands and he was accepting, but an Indian devotee had a garland made out of plastic with money, all money in it. And he wanted to give Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, every time he tried to make eyes with Prabhupada, Prabhupada was turning his head. He didn't want that. So he knew this was really frustrating the Indian devotee. So Prabhupada looked, and you could tell he was like giving his mercy to the guy. He said, okay, and the devotee put, I don't know if it was $100 bills or dollar bills, So it stuck in my mind, the realization that Prabhupada wasn't there just for simply money. And not only was he accepted it because he wanted to benefit the person that was trying to give the money, making a show, and give Prabhupada the money. And he did that to receive it. And I got that realization that Prabhupada was doing him a favor by receiving that money garland. So that was my first understanding that Prabhupada was the real deal. He wasn't just trying to get money or be a big show-off. He was very present in his understanding of transcendental knowledge of Krishna.
In the beginning, he used to thank me and say how nice I was doing in the collections. But later on, I put the money, 100,000, 200, he never even said a word. Just put that aside. Not a thank you or anything. People want, you hear the women or something, if you're married or something, oh, you never say you love me, you never say, oh, to go there. You ever give me $200,000 a day or a month, I will say something nice, but this is service. And we took it as service. There was no expectation of it. We were waiting for the mercy.
There was a lecture going on. Prabhupada spoke on the 4 classes of men, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And this was in front of a university crowd, a rowdy crowd of students, particularly in Sweden, where nothing is holy and nothing is sacred. And so as soon as Prabhupada finished, the students stood up right in front and said, of course you think you're first-class men. Prabhupada lectured first-class, second-class, third-class men, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. You're thinking you're first-class men sitting in a sea of followers covered with flowers, sitting on a high exalted seat. You think you're first class. And I was boiling, just about to pounce on the Prabhupada. If he would have made just a little sign, I would have just ripped this man into shreds. Well, anyway, coming from Germany, we are very expert to deal with these matters. So, in any way, I was just ready. My blood was boiling. But it was dead silent in the room. Nobody spoke a word. You could hear a pin falling on the ground. And then Prabhupada said, he was pleading with the man, practically speaking. He said, no, no, no. He said, like this with his hands. He said, no, no, no. I'm not a first-class man. He said, I'm a fifth-class man. And so everybody was shocked. It was dead silent for a little while. And then Prabhupada said, in this deafening silence, he said, because I'm the servant of everyone. And we were just astounded when he said this. And I saw behind his lip was quivering, you know. He was deeply, when he spoke it, he knew it was true, that he was a servant of the whole world. And so two big tears came behind his spectacles. And that I saw, because I was right there. How he cried when he said this. And it was so clear that he was really the servant of the whole world, that he didn't think much of himself, like we have heard before. And he was so humble that he had so much Shakti on one side, and on the other side, that he was so humble that he considered himself, in fact, fifth class, the servant of everyone, the person who was supporting everybody, serving everybody, giving to everybody, and not expecting anything in return. I thought it was such a sublime display of such a pure devotee of Krishna. It was very moving, and I will never be able to forget it.
It's Guru Puja time in Bombay Temple, and the temple, the deities had not yet gone over into the big temple. They were still under construction. So it's a Quonset hut, and there's a chipped marble floor, and then Prabhupada had that Vyasasan with the big round Vyasasan. Anyway, and it was my golden opportunity. It's Guru Puja. I'm in this line, and I've got my flowers, and I get to worship Prabhupada personally. Try that in LA, right? I'm just a rank and filer. So here, and that's one glory of India, was that you did get an opportunity to associate with Prabhupada more intimately. So anyway, I'm standing in line, and I'm thinking in my mind, when I get up to Prabhupada, I said, wow. When I get up to Prabhupada, he's going to manifest himself as this, like he is in LA, how I always pictured him, you know. My commander-in-chief, my Lord and Master, the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead, Prabhupada. And I will offer my flowers. And so it goes like this, a couple minutes. Finally, it's my turn. And when I get to him, this is how he manifested himself. The most humble person. It struck me that he doesn't want me. He doesn't want anything from me, not in the material world. And also, it made me want to worship him all the more, because he's worshipable.
Prabhupada was always extremely humble. As exalted and as glorious as he was, he never acted in such a way that people, unlike other gurus who said they were God, or other gurus who said they were something wonderful or something special, Srila Prabhupada always acted in a very humble manner. There was a dispute one time about Srila Prabhupada's position between different senior devotees. And one woman disciple wrote to Srila Prabhupada and said, some of the devotees are saying that you can see what's in the hearts of all of your disciples and in every temple. And the other devotees are saying that that's like a magic trick, and that you're not like that. You can't do those things. So the devotees who are saying that, the other devotees are saying that that's diminishing your spiritual prowess. So what do you say? Please tell me. So the secretary asked the question, and Prabhupada said, for a greatly advanced pure devotee, this is not at all difficult. He can easily see what is going on in the hearts of all of his disciples and in all of his temples. So that was, the secretary would ask the question, Prabhupada would reply. So then he said, okay, so I should tell her that you can do this then. And Prabhupada said, I didn't say that. He said, I said for a greatly advanced pure devotee. He could see that. I am not a greatly advanced pure devotee. I am not even a devotee. I am just trying to be a devotee. So in that statement, he simultaneously exhibited his humility and actually also showed us what our state of consciousness should be in trying to develop our Krishna consciousness, that we were just trying to be devotees. So then the secretary said, so I should tell her that. And he said, oh yes, for a greatly advanced pure devotee, this is not a difficult thing.
A few days before the Ratha Yatra, the devotee wanted to present Prabhupada a play. Sudama was the director of the play, and the play was about the age of Kali. So Sudama was doing the part of Kali himself. He was dressed in a frock with a big hat, you know, and he had his servant, lust, greed, anger, and envy, and all this, directing them how to bewilder people, how to, you know, entice people like that. So that was the Brooklyn temple, was 13th floor high, and there was one floor just for theater, you know, for 500-600 people fit there. And Prabhupada was surrounded by his sannyasis, and the brahmacharis we were behind. So Rasagya, she was playing the part of Lust, our god sister, which is from Germany, very nice looking lady. And she was dressed so nicely, so beautifully, that when she will come on a stage, the sannyasi will look somewhere else, you know. But Prabhupada had a rose in his hand. He was turning the rose around and smell it and look at the play, at Rasagya, and look at the sannyasi and smile at them, and kept looking at the play. We were witnessing all these things, you know. So anyway, at the end of the play, Lord Chaitanya came with the big Sankirtan movement, and he defeated the Kali and his agent, and they closed their ears, frightened, and run away, you know. So it was a big success. Prabhupada liked it very much, the play. So Prabhupada's room was on the 11th floor. I remember that. So he was waiting for his elevator to go there. And maybe there or on the roof later on, Prabhupada told the sannyasis, you should try to understand the mind of the pure devotee. When he sees a beautiful woman, he admires Krishna's creation. Oh, such a beautiful thing Krishna created, but he doesn't get bewildered because he doesn't want to enjoy Krishna's energy. He only admires, but he doesn't want to lord over it. But other men, they look and they get attracted to enjoy it. And that's the difference between a pure devotee, you know. So he gave a wonderful lesson with that, you know.
Another time in Mayapur, another important instruction, it was just myself and Prabhupada in his room, and he had been just finishing, he was writing some things and on his desk, and I just given him some coconut water, his dab, and I was in there straightening some things up and sat down just by the door and chatted a little bit while Prabhupada was working in there. So then Prabhupada's sister Pisama came, and I had her wait at the door first, and I said, Prabhupada, your sister's here, would you like to speak to us? Yes. Bring her in. So I opened the door to let Pisama in, and she came in and sat down, and they started speaking in Bengali. And so I got up to walk out the door, and I had a few things I thought I'd do before the rest of the people came for that evening, just within a few minutes there. And Prabhupada looked at me and said, where are you going? I was just going outside. I said, no, come sit. So he had me sit down, and the conversation went on with his sister for about another 20 minutes, half hour. And I was thinking, I'm going to be chastised again. I've done so messed up again. And so I was just chanting, and I didn't know what was said. He was all Bengali. And then his sister finished, and she went out of the room, and Prabhupada turned to me. There was no one else there. Prabhupada turned to me, and he said, a sannyasi is never alone in a room even with his mother or sister. And then he quoted that verse. Now, Prabhupada wasn't having to show anybody specifically like this, but yet that example was very instructive, that here's Prabhupada and here's his sister, who's very old also, and it's his sister, but yet showing so much by the example. So, you know, for all of our sannyasis out there, it's a wonderful verse. And showed Prabhupada was non-different. I mean, it wasn't that Prabhupada would say something and doing something else. And that way he affected all of our hearts who were trying on the front of preaching, that our whole moments of appreciation, our movement was just the little time we got to spend with Prabhupada, and that he was pleased with what we're doing. But seeing his example, there was no dichotomy, there was no hypocrisy. Prabhupada was Prabhupada, and as he spoke and as he put in the books, is so he lived his life. And that type of leader you can follow anywhere.